Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In Between the Stitches. As always, I am your host, Brady Wilson. But today, I am not with my co-host, Chase Olschwanger. I believe he had some business to attend to today and was not able to make it out for today's episode. So we're going to be kicking it back like I did the first, few episodes I did for the podcast. I want to say they're still on YouTube. Maybe not. I know they're on Spotify, where I think they're still called the X's and O's podcast, when I was just in my bedroom with my little, my blue Yeti microphone, and, I had my little, earbud in, and I, felt like a real professional. Obviously, definitely have the superior setup here at the KNTU studios. But currently, as we look at the sports landscape, we got the Tigers at the Astros. It is the bottom of the seventh, 2 men on, 2-0 to Mauricio Dubon. Jackson Jobe just got out of a pitch comm issue. So there is Dubon bunts, third base side, and there is not going to be a play. Bases loaded with no outs, down 1-0 are the Houston Astros in the bottom of the seventh. This may turn into a bit of a play-by-play every so often, just because, currently the time, of course, we always, here in Texas, Central Standard Time, it is 3:41 p.m., I believe the Royals and Orioles, which is a really fun little combination to say there. They just got started. The Royals have a guy on third with Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Baseball's up to the bat. I will probably, I may put that game on my phone here just to have that on until I have to. There's a thing I have to have on my phone to see. As John Singleton will be coming up. You know what I want to say real quick? I'm really happy for Singleton. Was involved in the Hunter Pence trade back in 2011. I don't want to say I know all of the issues that have happened, but I know he's had some personal issues, I believe, and so I'm really happy that he's finding a career in baseball. But we're not going to start with baseball. You guys know the drill by now. We usually start with hockey. There really isn't much hockey other than I believe the season starts pretty soon. I saw Michael Kay was doing an ad, obviously yesterday in the playoff game. That's going to be Bruins at Bruins at Panthers, I think, to open the season. ESPN obviously had the Rangers this year for opening day, so I guess ESPN likes to get the like Thanos with his Infinity Stones. The ESPN likes to get the defending champions at home for the first game of the year. But there's a little bit of Mavs news to talk about. Luka had I believe it was called a calf contusion, which more or less probably says he tweaked his calf, and he'll be okay. Doesn't sound serious. As Bobby Witt Jr. No, that's not Bobby Witt. It's Pasquatch. He drives in the man on third and is now 1-0 Royals in the top of the first. I will give updates to this Astros thing. It's 1-2 to Singleton right now. Joe bounces a changeup. But Frank Vogel joins the Mavericks staff. This is going to be a little bit jumbled today. Obviously, being by myself, not having another person to bounce stuff off of. So just bear with me here. Chase will he'll be back next week. But back to the Mavs. Frank Vogel has been hired, I guess, as an assistant / advisor / hey, basketball. Why don't you? Oh, what a play. Oh, when he dropped the ball. Are you kidding me? Okay, so again, I don't have the visual representation to show you. Hard ground ball to first. I'm going to go ahead and say that's Torkelson because that's their first baseman, unless for some reason they brought him out. There's an A's fan in the crowd. It's kind of fun. Torkelson, stabs the ground ball. Great job. Throws it to first. Not the best throw in the world, but the catcher doesn't catch it. I mean, that's a heck of a play. That prevents 2 runs. But he bounces the throw, and the catcher can't corral it, and Caratini scores. So it is now tied. Obviously, I'm not going for Houston. If it's not obvious, I am rooting for the Detroit Tigers. But Frank Vogel has been hired as what was the classification? Hold on, let me find it. He was hired as something. I assume it's special assistant. Yeah, a coaching consultant, which to me is, hey, you were a head coach. You kind of know basketball. Why don't you come help us? So that way you have a job. There's a pop-up, Torkelson, and I don't know I assume Riley Green? No, it's not Riley Green. Vierling? The right fielder goes, tags, and he is safe. Because I feel like they're doing a radio broadcast right here. Orioles go, Orange messed me up there. Astros go up 2-1. in the bottom of the 7th. But I'm sorry, this is going to be a bit choppy just because I would like to give updates as they're happening because we will talk about the playoffs in a second. Frank Vogel, obviously a very defensive-minded coach when he was a head coach. It cannot be a bad thing to bring in a guy like him who's got some championship pedigree, a guy that knows how to coach defense. You pair that with the prolific offense that we do have. That has been a kind of a knock on the Mavericks the past 2 years is that our defense hasn't always been as consistent as you might like it. And so I think bringing in a guy like Frank Vogel definitely helps matters. But other than that, really isn't much basketball to talk about. Mainly just the Frank Vogel thing, the Luka thing. I'm forgetting, Karl-Anthony Towns got traded to the Knicks for Julius Randle. I think there was a couple other things that happened in that trade, but I don't have the details in front of me, and I don't want to spend some time trying to go look for them. The big one is obviously Randle going to the Timberwolves, but the big one is obviously Towns going to the Knicks. Towns is a superstar. He is one of the best players in the NBA, and so for the Knicks, and Chase, one thing he said when it happened, and I'll relay that to you guys, which is the Knicks are definitely gearing up to try to beat the Celtics. You see this in sports all the time. When a team gets really good, the other teams in their division, conference, whatever, that are going to be facing them on a regular basis, they look to, instead of just trying to build their team to win, they build their team to beat that team, right? You see this all the time. And so I think I agree with Chase when he said that the Knicks seem to be trying to build a team that can beat the Celtics. Other than that, not much basketball that I can remember. So we're going to move on to baseball. Obviously, not the best time to do an episode because the playoffs are happening right now. I mean, technically here in the next, I say few minutes, but here, maybe even before the episode's over, right after, the Tigers could be out moving on. And the Astros could be out, or the Astros could tie the series, right? We don't know yet. But let's talk about what happened towards the end of the season. We have to do a little recapping here. Monday was a great day for baseball, at least for the first game. It was definitely a lot of fun to watch that game when I was in English class. And I'm trying my best to keep my composure in class. I can't exactly just, yell and scream and hoop and holler. But it was fantastic. I mean, Mets go up, Mets go down, then Mets go back up, then the Braves go back up, then the Mets go back up. And it was just back and forth and a lot of fun to watch. The Braves obviously win game 2. They get in. The Diamondbacks, people are saying the Diamondbacks got screwed. The Diamondbacks, whatever. I disagree because nowadays, because you play everybody else, you control the tiebreakers, right? You control the tiebreakers. The Tigers are going to turn a nifty little double play, and they get out of it with no further damage. It is 2-1 Astros heading to the top of the 8th with the 1-2-3 hitters for Detroit coming up, which would be Meadows, Carpenter, and Veerling. I think to say the Diamondbacks got screwed, I think it's wrong because, again, like I said, you play everybody else, so you control the tiebreakers. They played 7 against the Mets. I believe they lost 4. They played 7 against the Braves. They lost, I think, 5. So if the Diamondbacks have won those games, they have a tiebreaker. It doesn't matter, right? But guess what? You don't have the tiebreaker. And so I just disagree with the whole they got screwed narrative. And I am just now remembering that there are a couple things I have to mention. Dikembe Mutombo passed away. I believe it was either yesterday or Monday. Sorry for not remembering the exact date, but at 58, it appears he had brain cancer. He was obviously just a great ambassador for basketball. And I'm sorry to kind of go on a sad note. Usually I like to start off with the sad stuff, but I completely forgot that it happened. Same thing with the next one that I'm going to speak on. But just very sad. Obviously, the finger wag has become a part of basketball culture. It has even extended a little bit into just regular pop culture. And it's just very sad. He's always seemed like such a good, just positive guy. Was a great ambassador, and especially internationally for basketball, for the NBA. And so it's just very sad. And then obviously, as a baseball fan, we lost Pete Rose. That one definitely, it really sucks. I mean, he's the all-time hit leader. He's a very historic player. Was a part of those great teams of the Reds in the 70s, the Big Red Machine, I believe he was on the 80 Phillies. Just a very historic player. And it's sad. It is. A man passed away. But to get into the other little storyline that has been cropped up again or has been, perpetrated again, or whatever the word you want to use, that has been started being talked about again, if that's the right English way to put that, is that Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, I'm going to explain from my perspective, and, if you know me, you know that, me and baseball, and I feel I'm knowledgeable enough to speak on it. Pete Rose gambled on baseball. There is a rule. It is posted in every clubhouse. They make you know this rule. You cannot bet on baseball. You cannot bet on games that you played in. You cannot bet on other games, and you cannot. And if you know about teammates doing it or other people doing it, and you do not tell your team or Major League Baseball, the establishment, you are just as guilty. This is the cardinal rule of baseball. It is posted at every clubhouse. Pete Rose did it, and he gambled on games that he had a hand in, whether played or managed. And I'm sorry, I don't have sympathy for that because he did it. It wasn't like someone tricked him. This isn't like Shoeless Joe Jackson, where there is potentially an argument for maybe he didn't do it. He hit like 400 in the series, right? There are arguments. Maybe he was, I hate to say this, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he wasn't intelligent enough to really gamble and know what he was doing. Right? There are arguments. Pete Rose did it and lied about it multiple times. So I don't have much sympathy. He accepted the lifetime ban because guess what? That's what you get for doing what you did. Should he be in the Hall of Fame? Of course he should be in the Hall of Fame. The argument is not should he not be in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose should be in every baseball Hall of Fame that exists. The issue is that he broke the cardinal rule. And he did it to himself. And if you put him in, okay, sure, I would be in favor of putting him in the Hall of Fame. But the only caveat to that is you have to go back and put Shoeless Joe Jackson in. And you have to review the cases of the other 7 players that gambled on baseball. Because, and I know there are 2 pronunciations for his name, Cicotte or Cicotti. I've heard both. I believe it is Cicotti. Eddie Cicotti, who pitched Game 1, the infamous, he hit the first batter to let him know the fix was in. He had a Hall of Fame career. There's arguments for maybe Lefty Williams, but then the other one is Buck Weaver. Buck Weaver there are some arguments to put him in. He was definitely on the Hall of Fame trajectory. Ty Cobb once said there was one third baseman he never bunted on. This is Ty Cobb. Said there was one third baseman he never bunted on, and that was Buck Weaver. So I'm not saying that makes him a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying to give you some background, some pedigree to his name. I think you got to go in and look at those guys. Shoeless Joe's in. The other 3, we got to look at the cases, right? Do they have enough? And if you deem they do, then they should go in. Because if you put Rose in, then you can gamble on baseball and still go in the Hall of Fame. It sets a precedent. It opens up a can of worms that I don't think baseball is ready for. And I already consider him a Hall of Famer. Like when I think of the Reds, I kind of put him in the Hall of Fame category, even though he's not technically enshrined. And so I think, it's people arguing and wanting. People go, well, the fans don't care. You're right, the fans don't care. But it's a rule that's posted everywhere that it's not like he didn't know the rule. He misinterpreted the rule. He knew the rule and willingly broke the rule. And I'm sure he was real sorry because I think you're not going to find anyone that loves baseball more than Pete Rose did. So I think he's very sorry for what he did. But that doesn't mean that you unban him and put him in the Hall of Fame. It just means that he acknowledges that he's did something wrong. So if you put him in, you got to go put Shoeless Joe in, and then it sets a really bad precedent. It does. And that's why it'll probably never happen. And people are going to always be pissed about it. Anyway, off of the Pete Rose stuff, now we'll get to playoff predictions. Now, I have it on evidence that I did mine, I did mine Monday night, and Chase did his before the playoffs started, so I would assume Monday. Here's what I have predicted. I have said the Royals in 2 games over the Orioles. Is there anything else? Hold on, I'm trying to think, like, is there any other storylines that I missed? I don't believe so. So now on to the playoff predictions. I have the Royals in 2 over the Orioles. So far, that looks to be correct. As the Tigers tie it up here in the top of the 8th against Ryan Presley. I said the Astros in 3. Hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm very wrong. But I thought I on the nose predicted it. I said I think the Tigers are going to win game 1 because as long as they can score 3 runs, they'll win the game with Tariq Skubal on the mound. They scored 3 runs, they won the game. I'm a genius. And I thought Houston would take advantage of the fact that Detroit doesn't really have a solid like starter. They're more just kind of pieced together to their pitching. I really thought that Houston would have the advantage there. And so I said Houston in 3. Hold on. There's going to be a squeak. I'm going to turn the mic down for just a second so you don't hear it. All right, we're good. Sorry, just wanted to do that and warn you that there's going to be like a couple seconds of silence there. Padres in 3. I just felt the Braves have enough to take at least 1. And then I'm saying Mets in 3. I think the Mets are hot. I think that they are just they're right there. I think they can really shock the Brewers. Then I'm saying Yankees over Royals in 5. This is something I've kind of talked about before. I really want the Royals to go play the Yankees, which if the Tigers win, that wouldn't really happen unless in the LCS, which I'd be okay with because Houston gets knocked out. But I want to see the Royals and the Yankees because that is one of the great historic rivalries in the playoffs from the 70s and 80s. And my generation has not gotten to experience that yet. And so I would definitely want to see that maybe reignited here in the middle of the 2020s. But I'm saying Yankees in 5. Guardians, I would say over the Astros in 4. I think Houston would take a game, but I just think the Guardians are a much better team. Phillies in 5, because the Phillies, I think, are just the best team in baseball. And I love the Padres. I think the Padres would give them a run, but I think Phillies would be able to beat them. And then I'm saying Mets in 5. There is something about if you haven't noticed, I have a tendency, I did it last year, to pick. I don't usually pick sweeps. It's very, very rarely do I pick a sweep because I just don't feel I have one sweep, and that was the Royals sweep and no Orioles. That was it. So I'm not a guy that likes to believe in a sweep. I like to believe it's going to go multiple games. Or say multiple games. That the DSs are going to go 4 or 5, and that the CSs are going to go 6 or 7. Because even like a 5-game, 7-game, even though even like last year's World Series, Rangers won it in 5. It was still exciting, but you would have loved to have seen another game or 2. I wouldn't have because I don't know if my heart would have been able to take that. But the average regular baseball fan would much rather see 6 and 7 game series, as well as the TV networks. And then I'm saying Mets in 5. I think the Mets have the chance to beat the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers can bludgeon you to death, but the first thing I look for when trying to figure out if a team is built for October is, do they have the starters, and then do they have the bullpen, right? That is what I look at. Do they have those 2 things to beat a team? Because you take an offense that hits 300 that hits 300 over 162 games. Well, that's a 162 game sample size. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. In the playoffs, I think I did the math. I think there's a maximum of 22 games that you can play. So that 162 gets condensed down to maximum 22. All right? And so the highs and the lows are a lot more stark in the playoffs. And so you can have the league's best offense, but if you go cold for a game or 2, that can put you that sets you back monumentally. I mean, that really sets you back in a really bad way. And so offense is great, but you got to have pitching. And you don't have to have the best pitchers, but you got to have guys step up, which is kind of what the Tigers have done. And that's why I'm taking the Mets or the Dodgers. I actually think they have more pitching than the Dodgers do, which is kind of crazy to say. In the LCS, I'm taking Guardians over Yankees in 6. These guys have been going at it these last, not the last few years, but when the Yankees were good there in late 2010, so were the Cleveland Indians. I know I stuttered. I'm so sorry. They had some great series. They had some great games. So I'm excited to see them again. And then I got the Phillies over the Mets in 5. I just think they're a better team. I think the Mets will take a game, right? But I don't think the Mets are ready to play the Phillies. And then the World Series would be Guardians and Phillies, and I would say in that scenario, Phillies in 6. The Phillies have been my preseason prediction. They have been my pick throughout the entire regular season, and they are still my pick in the start of the postseason. I just think they're the best team in baseball. I think they're the most well-equipped team because you have enough start. I mean, you have 2 awesome starters in Nola and Wheeler. You'll take whatever Ranger can give you, right? And I know they have another guy that I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I think it's Sanchez. I could be wrong, but they've got 2 horses that they can pitch, and then they got some guys behind them. They got a pretty good bullpen, and they've got enough offensive guys to where a couple of them can go cold, and the rest of them can pick up the slack. I just think they're the most equipped team to win in October, and I think they'll win. As currently it is top of the 8th, 2 outs, 2-2, 2 men on for, I don't know the Tigers team as well, but that looks like Torkelson. Yes, it is Spencer Torkelson. And Josh Hader is on to pitch for Houston. But yeah, that is my postseason predictions. Unfortunately, I don't have Chase's with me. Kind of maybe forgot to ask him for those, but we talked about it. We differed, I think, a little bit. I think he said Houston. I think he actually said Baltimore. I think he said San Diego, and I think he said the Mets. I think he had the Mets going to the World Series against Houston, I believe. And I think we're both hoping that we're wrong. I don't think Houston is as equipped for a big time World Series run. Obviously, I think they have guys in the bullpen. I think they have their starters worry me. They have guys in the pen, but as we just saw right here, Hader just walked Torkelson. Bases are loaded with 2 outs, 2-2 tie, top of the 8th. This is what what makes baseball fun right here. This is what makes baseball fun. And I will continue to give updates as we move along. And here comes, is that a Spada? I don't know the Astros as well. No, that looks like their pitching coach. Yep, that's their pitching coach. And it's still 1-0 Royals in the top of the 2nd with Zach Eflin on the mound for Baltimore and Seth Lugo on the mound for Kansas City. I really think the Phillies are so well equipped to go win a World Series. And I think this is their year. Nothing against the Mets, I think, could go on a run. But I still just think, no, the Phillies are just so well equipped. The Dodgers are not well equipped. If you can walk Shohei and keep Mookie and Freeman as much in check as possible, I really think you can beat that team. San Diego, another team that's very well built, good starting pitching, a really good bullpen, and then enough offense. Andy Ibanez skies a foul ball. Sorry, that sounded really mundane. Ex-Ranger, great. Hopefully he can kill Houston here. I'd love a grand slam. And I would be able to give you like a true announcer. That ball is hit way back. You would get baseball announcer Brady for a couple seconds there. But yeah, I'm really excited. I think this postseason has started out really well. Yesterday was a great day. There was really no bad games. Obviously, Orioles was like 1-0. That was kind of boring, but it was still like really good pitching, right? But the Tigers Astros was a phenomenal game. Padres and Braves was a really good game, and then obviously I think Mets Brewers was a really good game. So, I'm hoping this can be a really great postseason because last postseason I think was pretty good. The problem is that I was so enveloped and so warped and so focused on my team that I didn't pay much attention to everybody else. So, the Phillies Diamondback series was probably one of the best series of the playoffs. But everything else, I don't remember a ton because, I was paying attention to my team and what we were doing, right? I wasn't really, focused on much else. But that's just me. But now I believe it is time that we move on to football. Last week, me and Chase both tied at 11-5. Ibanez drills one down the line. It is going to get down. It's fair. In comes one. I assume they're going to wave in the guy on second. I don't know who is where. And that is going to score 3 runs. It is a 3 RBI bases clearing triple for Andy Ibanez. It is now 5-2 Tigers. Wow. Sorry if it's a little bit rough. I'm not used to having to go from podcast to play-by-play in about a half a second. But what a swing from Ibanez. He roped that down the line, pull side, and was booking it. That's a heck of a hit. Let's go. And Astros fans are hanging their head. Oh, isn't it glorious? You know what? My team might not be in it, but I am drinking the haterade. And I don't mean Josh Hader. I'm a hater of the Astros. Wow. That's awesome. That I have the biggest smile on my face right now. Chase just texted me, Ibanez, hater sucks, with the crying, laughing emoji. Oh, man. Oh, that's great. Anyway, I believe it is time now to move to football, and we will have occasional baseball updates as these games progress. Obviously, we got to talk about the Cowboys. It was certainly a game. You won. You didn't play it particularly well. You're gonna lose, and then this week you're gonna lose Brandon Cooks. And what a catch! All right, was that Dubon? Yeah, Mauricio Dubon with a nice gliding backwards catch at the track. And so, but it does not matter because the Tigers did their damage. It is going to be Jordan, somebody, and somebody. I didn't see who was their 4 and 5 hitters coming up to face the Tigers in the bottom of the 9th. But anyway, back to football. You have now lost Cooks for this week due to a knee thing, like an infection, which is kind of weird. D-Law goes in the IR. Hopefully Micah's just going to miss this week and maybe next week at the most. Definitely just you're losing guys. You're hoping you can win this week. But you played okay. Mozzie played terrific. The defense was better. The offense started off hot, ran cold there for a little while. You definitely are hoping for a little better results. And I say better results, but to just look a little more like a complete football team. You won. That's what matters. You won, but you still would like to play a little better than you did. There's still things to clean up. But now moving on to week 5, okay? And I kind of recap week 4 games as I go through each team. Week 5, and I do have Chase's game picks here with me, so we're good to go on that front. Week 5, I've got the Buccaneers at the Falcons. All right, I got the Bucs. Chase has got the Falcons. Should be a pretty good matchup of 2 NFC South rivals, both kind of jockeying for position in that division. I just think the Bucs are a little better team. They're going to go on the road, and they're going to beat the Falcons on Thursday Night Football. Jets at Vikings. Man, the Vikings, I think, are a contender at this point. They've got a Brian Flores-led defense that's playing extremely well. Sam Darnold and O'Connell, I almost said Christian O'Connell, Kevin O'Connell are just, they're artists right now on offense. Then they get Jordan Addison back, who had a really good week. So I'm taking Vikings. The Jets still look like they have some things to figure out. Bills at Texans. I'm taking the Bills. I know they got their butts kicked last week, but I think they're going to have a rebound game on the road against the Texans. And Chase is taking the Texans. Browns at Commanders. I'm done picking the Browns because their defense. I'm done with it. I am definitely going to go with the Commanders. Jaden Daniels looks to be every bit as good as me and Seth. And Seth, who's on the draft show, would like me to remind everybody to go and watch the draft show, and you'll hear him being 100% correct in his assessment of Caleb Williams and his assessment of Jaden Daniels. Basically, his entire assessment of the 2024 quarterback class so far through 4 games. So I'm taking the Commanders, so is Chase. Chase, I think I mentioned it, but Chase is taking the Texans, so we disagree there. Panthers at Bears. I think me and Chase are both taking the Bears because of their defense. Obviously, Caleb has not played the best, but I think they're going to get it done at home against still not a great Panthers team. Ravens at Bengals. I think Zach Taylor's going to get fired. I think he should. I don't think he's a very good coach. Have never thought he was a very good coach, and I think the Ravens are going to continue their hot streak. You got Colts at Jags. The Colts. I think this is a great game for the Colts to get back in that win column, and have the chance to. I know they won last week. I know they did. I'm not saying that they need, when I say get back in the win column, I more mean get a win in that column. That came out weird. You guys think you know what I'm trying to say. This is a great game to get another win and beat a divisional opponent too. That's also not very good. Dolphins at Patriots. This should be a horrible game to watch. But Chase is taking the Patriots. I'm going to believe in Tyreek and Waddle. I'm going to believe in their receivers over the Patriots just team. I'll take the Dolphins and Chase taking the Patriots. No, that's our last disagreement. So from now on, anything I say or like my team, Chase is picking that team. Raiders at Broncos. The Raiders are they're such an up and down team that I don't feel I can consistently, pick them. So we'll go Broncos there. Cardinals at Niners. Cardinals look pretty good this year, but I just think the Niners are one of the best teams in the league. I think they'll get it done at home. Packers at Rams. Ground ball. Nice play from Ibanez, and he throws out Bregman 2 down. It's the bottom of the 8th. Pardon me. It is not the 9th. It is the 8th inning. Sorry to keep switching on you guys like that, but want to keep giving updates if possible. Cardinals at Niners. I already did that one. Packers at Rams. That's what we're on. Obviously feel that the Rams and Sean McVay are going to figure out a way to try to win, but I just think the Packers are going to have a good rebound. They almost came back in that game against the Vikings. If they clean up those mistakes that they were, making in that game, I think they'll beat the Rams. You've got Giants at Seahawks. Giants are a little better than I think people are giving them credit for, but I think the Seahawks are actually a really good team. And I'm taking Seahawks. And there's a nice play from Torkelson, and they get Yainer Diaz out. They're going to the 9th with Rodgers, Meadows, and Carpenter coming up. I kind of feel like there's a joke. Can't remember who it was by, but he was talking about Harry Carey and how Harry Carey would be telling you a story, and then ever so often mention something about the game. I was on Rush Street last night. Oh, there's a triple play. Anyway, back to the story. It's kind of what I feel like I'm doing right now. I'm talking about football. I'm giving you game picks. And then, it's like, I like the Seahawks, and there's a triple play. Anyway, I think the Seahawks have a good defense. There's a fastball off Bregman's head. He, both benches empty. It's kind of what I feel like I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm giving you analysis about something else, and then just with if I don't know if you heard the snap, but without any warning, just immediately go to the baseball game because I had the benefit of being able to see the baseball game and see it happening. Whereas you're going to be listening to this and you're going to be, the Seahawks are pretty good. Wait, what did he say? He said something about I don't know. He said something about Bregman. That's so I'm sorry for the choppiness of the episode. But you know what? This is the best time of the year for sports. And I think that, that kind of chaos deserves to be kind of shown in podcast form. But I think the Seahawks are better than the Giants. Cowboys, Steelers, Sunday Night Football. Cowboys are going to have a tough time, I think, figuring out the Steelers' run game, especially Justin Fields. But I ultimately think the Cowboys are a better football team in terms of talent. I think we'll win. But I still think it's going to be, I just want to see more improvement. Let's just keep improving each week and see what we can get. Saints at Chiefs. I as much as I want to take the Saints, I can't. I cannot bet against Kansas City, even without Rashee Rice. I think they're going to figure out a way to get Worthy the ball more and get him a lot more involved in Rice's absence. They got Kareem Hunt back. I think this is going to be a time for Kelsey to really, maybe show up finally this season. He has been kind of and I'm laughing before I even say it. If you get this, please leave a comment that you understood this reference. Kelsey has kind of been a blank space on the Chiefs offense this year, which has definitely caused some problems for him. Again, please comment if you understand the reference. I can't wait to read who actually understands it. Or, if I text this to you, if I text you the episode, please just text me like, oh, that was really funny. Plus, it shows me that you are listening this far into the episode, which is nice. Dubon dives for a ball, and he is not going to get there. So that is going to be a single for Jake Rogers. Let's go Tigers. But yeah, that is the week for the NFL. I am very excited to see how the Cowboys look without some of their best players. And, of course, the big news in football, Devontae Adams, yes, I want to trade for him. No, the Cowboys won't do it. So I'm not even getting my hopes up and thinking about it. Yeah, that is going to do it for me here today. Again, Chase, no doubt he'll be back next week as we inch closer to basketball and hockey season. I will try to get Zach Babb on here to talk some hockey and to discuss the Stars. I'm very excited for the baseball playoffs. It has started out very well. Again, as I leave you, it is the top of the ninth with a man on first, 5-2 Tigers. And I have never wished that I was more wrong about a playoff series. I hope the Tigers sweep them. So we will see you guys next week and recap, obviously, more baseball playoffs, and we'll talk about more football. We will see you guys next week.